Hello, and welcome to Latin America Votes, a special show in which we will be following live Argentina's second presidential debate. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we will be bringing you the latest news and analysis in the countdown towards the presidential election that will take place in this southern country. And to join me is our very own Luis Alberto Matos. Welcome, Luis.
Hi, Belén. It's a pleasure to join you in this special program. And yes, there's great expectation for what this debate brings. The five candidates will see again face to face, just 7 days from the first debate that was held last Sunday. And on this occasion, the main topics are going to be along the line of security, labor and production, housing, human development, and environmental protection. So there's great expectation following the high rating that the first debate had on television, on different medias. So a pleasure to be in this program, and greetings to everyone that is joining our signals on the different platforms, and we go deeper in the analysis that this debate brings for the future of Argentina.
Exactly. So we will be following live. The debate in Argentina is just about to begin. As you were saying, there is a lot of expectation. Last week's debate had many important things, important points. The biggest candidates are fighting for their role in the elections that will take place on October 22nd, and we will be joined by different specialists in this interview for us to continue seeing. So now we will be looking at the debate that is about to begin. Let's listen. We're looking at the images coming live from Argentina. We are going now to receive our first specialist, Tobias Belgrano, who is an analyst and will join us in this first episode. So Tobias, we are minutes away from the beginning of the debate, which is actually starting now. Can you hear me? Welcome to Latin American Votes.
Very much for having me, and thanks for teleSUR for the space.
What can you tell us about this debate? We are minutes away from it starting. What are our viewers expected to address in this important debate? What are the key points we're looking for?
Well, this second debate, will be having three axes of work. The first axis will be security, work and production will be the second thematic space, and the third space will be for human development, housing, and environment protection. The three candidates, the Peronist candidate Sergio Massa, and the Juntos por el Cambio or Macrist coalition Patricia Bullrich, are running behind the libertarian candidate Javier Milei, who runs the first place in the primaries elections. In this case, Sergio Massa, the Peronist candidate, is the second runner, and right behind is Patricia Bullrich. The first debate was really template and without a lot of sparks. We can expect this second debate to be much more rougher and much more with more declarations between the candidates, because the polls are benefiting Javier Milei, and Patricia Bullrich, that is running really behind, needs to show a little more muscle in this debate.
Exactly, and the first topic to be addressed, as you were just saying, is security, an important topic, as we know that in Argentina, polls tell us that this is one of the most pressing events, the most pressing issues that are under the Argentinians' considerations. So this is one of the topics that we will be following. Now let's go live to Argentina. Let's see the images from the debate that's starting now. We see the images as Javier Milei is starting to address this first topic. Now we continue with Tobias Belgrano, who is live here in this special edition of Latin American Votes. We were talking about security and how important this topic is to the Argentines. It's one of the hot topics in this second presidential debate. Tobias, how do you think this topic can play an important role in the discussion leading up to this first round of the presidential elections on October 22nd?
Well, security has been a key issue in this campaign, and especially before the previous debate after the murder of a young child in the urban areas of Buenos Aires. So it's a hot topic in this debate. The three candidates can have something to show regarding this topic. Sergio Massa, as former mayor of the Tigre County in Buenos Aires, had a really strong administration within this topic, with excellent results in reducing insecurity in Tigre. That was his district where he was working as a mayor. Patricia Bullrich can also claim her knowledge regarding security during his period working in the Ministry of Security in the government of Mauricio Macri as a national minister of security. So she will use strong this access to promote her candidacy. And Javier Milei, regarding the lack of experience in this matter, he counts with his vice president, Victoria Villarruel, that specializes in security and military affairs and has a strong interest in using the military for internal security. So probably this will going to be the three ways and the three strategies the candidates will use to promote their knowledge and fight for their knowledge in this area.
Tobias, that was clear. And now we go live to the debate in Argentina, and we will come back to you to continue this analysis.
It's also important to pay attention to the rest of the provinces. We need to preserve the prestige of this country, especially in the city of Buenos Aires. We also are expecting the construction of the gasoduct, which is necessary for a prosperous country. Good evening to everybody here. First of all, thank you to those who last Sunday were listening to us. I would also like to thank to those who from their homes are listening to us today. I would also like to highlight the fact that today is a very important day. Together we gather here to talk about security, about the environment, about work. We're here today to talk about how is going to be Argentina from now on. I'm here to propose the things that Argentine people need. And I know that we together, with the help of God, we will build a better country. Good evening. I would like to thank for the support that we receive in these days, which shows that most of us are in favor of advancing the country. We are here to overcome the situation we are facing right now. We are not going to succumb until these bigger politics. We will see today the progress of workers and social class. We also address the important topic of security, especially addressing the victims of the violence in our country. Thank you very much.
Miriam Breckman, terminamos entonces el momento de las presentaciones y vamos a comenzar con el debate del primero.
We will proceed for the first point of the debate. First of all, I would like to say that these topics have been already proposed, and each candidate agreed to speak on each of these topics. Now, candidates will talk about how they will proceed, how they will act regarding these topics. It's also important to highlight that any intervention is going to be interrupted. Each candidate has to wait for their turn to speak using the button that they have in each podium, which means that they're ready to talk again. Every intervention will be registered, so we can analyze these discourses later. These candidates are able to use this button 5 times during the debate. The first topic that we're going to talk about is a very important topic. We're going to talk about security with Patricia Bullrich. You all know that I was always being concerned about security, and I have you in my heart. We all know the situation that we're living today. We know which party we have to defend. So people are now concerned because they know that dangerous people are now on the streets. So that's one of the topics that we will address. We will put criminals in jail. That's because it's also important to highlight that the guns will not be accessible to people. Guns will be limited because these guns end mostly on hands of the criminals. I will change the civic code, the penal code, so never more any criminal, murder, raper will walk on the streets again. Here in Argentina, we're living the world upside down, and it's time for us to change that. That's why we need to defend the people. We need to defend the people and the citizens of Argentina. So in order to achieve this, we need to change our security politics. And criminals will finally be in jail, so we can finally be safe. We will now hear the words of the candidates who have already pressed the button. We will first hear Miriam. Those who are promoted hard hand on violence have already failed. All these people who are against people accessing guns and have already failed because... And also, I would like to address the topic of minors and the modifications to this code. Until what age will be a person able to have access to this?
No se sumó nadie hasta ahora, entonces le toca a Juan Schiaretti.
Los últimos gobiernos, los kirchneristas,
Last governments that we had had fought against crimes and against drugs. And we learned from those governments that we needed to change the law. We believe that the armed forces of a country are able to protect our country with the hand of the parties in the government. And also we could see that government is completely absent from this topic. I would also like to talk about this topic, especially addressing the topic of guns. My words had been misunderstood earlier, so I will address this topic again. We need to change this code because it's not possible that criminals are armed and the people who are innocent are not. We need to change the way that you're thinking. Unless you don't change, we're going to end up with a dictatorship. I would like to talk about the truth. We need to listen to data. Data never lies. This data has shown that as criminals leave prison, violence have increased in the country. I need our citizens to check on the internet this data. The violence rate diminished in our country thanks to Patricia Bullrich. Each candidate will have now 2 minutes to talk about their proposals. We need to fight violence by all means. And in order to do this, we need to change our criminal and penal code. We need to change this code because we are still living with a code that was created by the dictatorship. We need to fight against our narcotraffic, and in order to do this, we need the help of the armed forces, but the people can also help to solve this problem. We need to involve every citizen in Argentina in these problems. This is the only way to solve this problem. We need to create a new armed force to address only these topics about narcotraffic, especially in the capital, but also in the rest of the provinces. And this is the only way that we can stop criminals from conducting their operations in national territory. We need to change this because the current criminal and penal code are in favor of criminals, and we need to change that in order to be safe. We need to pay attention also to young people who are highly influenced by these criminals. We will address now the topic of security. I have the mission of transforming Argentina into a safe country. This is something I will do since my first day as a president. First of all, I think we need to analyze the prevention. And in order to do this, we need cameras, cell phones, satellites in each city of Argentina. All of this financed by the government. Secondly, we are going to address fight against crime. In order to achieve this, we are going to have the support of the force and corps of the country. And this will allow us to work in corruption, narcotraffic, and all kinds of kidnappings and actions that are against the security of Argentines. This will be in the hands of the armed corps of the government and also in the hands of the citizens. And lastly, we need also to pay attention to justice. We cannot allow that adopting a child will take several years. And any kinds of political and internal process are taking lots of years, and we need to address that. We will hear now Patricia Bullrich as she requests to speak now. 4 years ago, 4 years ago, you cannot address to a government that was 4 years ago. You need to pay attention also to the fact that you were there during that time. And you cannot address topics of corruption because you are aware of all the corruption that occurred during this government. You protect criminals, you protect corrupt politics, and you cannot talk about corruption when you were part of it. I would like to tell you that this city became one of the safest cities in 6 years of our country. We control policemen, and we had cameras on every corner of the country to keep our people safe. I'm not talking about false accusations. And I know that I make mistakes, so that's the main reason why I resigned.
Gracias, Sergio Massa. Es el turno ahora de los 2 minutos de exposición sobre seguridad de Miriam Breckman.
Gracias. La derecha siempre dice que a la izquierda no le gusta hablar de
The
inseguridad.
right has also always said that the left party doesn't like to talk about security.
Lo que no nos gusta es hacer demagogia punitiva como hacen ellos, porque el gran delito se organiza desde arriba.
What we need to pay attention here is to the fact that crimes are mostly committed to the highest spheres.
No hay posibilidad de que existan redes de trata si no hay complicidad con quienes manejan la frontera.
It's not possible for criminals to organize forces since they don't have support from some part of the government. So that's why we need to analyze corruption, and we need to analyze how the government addresses this topic.
La ley de sociedades por acciones simplificada, votada por todos durante el gobierno de Macri, incluido el bloque de Schiaretti. Cuando se discutió esta ley, nosotros le dijimos que no era para ayudar a los emprendedores,
a law during Macri's government that we can say that this law pretty much provided a paradise for criminals in our country. That law allowed criminals to put drugs in and out of the country without anything happening to them. Talking about security problems individually will not solve any problem. We need to not analyze this topic individually, but to link this problem to government. We need to provide sources of knowledge for young people in order to stop this from happening. We will continue to talk about security.
Todos los arreglos institucionales contemplan la existencia del Estado, donde éste se ocupa de seguridad y justicia.
The government takes care from security and justice.
El Estado también falla en esta materia.
And government has failed. We understand that our country right now is suffering from violence and crime.
Que en los últimos 20 años ha causado un verdadero desastre.
In the last 20 years, the government has caused pretty much a disaster to security in our country.
Haciendo que los delincuentes sean tratados como las víctimas cuando en realidad son los que
This
tienen que estar
has
encerrados.
as a consequence that criminals are treated like victims.
Propuso Zaffaroni no eran nuevas, ya se habían impulsado en las 60 en Nueva York y también 20 años después era un desastre.
We have seen problems like this in other countries. We saw this in New York.
Un artículo de 1968 que se llama Crimen y Castigo dio solución a esto. Lo enfocó como una actividad.
We could
sí, que
pay attention to a certain article that addressed this topic.
Esa actividad se expande. Al ponerlo en estos términos, no solo es importante el rol de la seguridad, sino que se vuelve fundamental el rol de la justicia en hacer efectivos los castigos. Es decir, que sea costoso ser delincuente.
In order to be safe, we cannot only rely on government and armed forces.
Nuevamente como corresponde en Argentina, nosotros proponemos hacer una reforma de la Ley de Seguridad Interior,
Therefore, we propose
la Ley de Inteligencia,
to change
modificar el sistema carcelario, modificar el Código Penal,
to change a criminal and penal code.
En un contexto de reforma del sistema judicial para que sea verdaderamente independiente.
And only by changing this code, we are going to see criminals paying for the crimes they committed.
Su tiempo, Javier Milei, gracias. Hubo dos pedidos de derecho a réplica. Primero, Patricia Burrich. Segundo, Juan Schiaretti. Así que su derecho a réplica, Patricia Burrich.
Milei, mira tu plataforma. Artículo 17. Desregulación y liberación de
Milei,
armas.
pay attention to
Si no, cambiala. Pero si cambias la plataforma,
to that
estabas convencido.
article you were talking
A las
about.
mamás y a los papás,
You need to pay
les digo que si se
attention.
liberan las armas, van a estar en manos de los monos. Las armas van a
You need to pay attention to the fact that guns cannot be on hands of every citizen. If we allowed people to have guns, this is going to be a disaster. It's going to be a very violent country, worse than we're living right now.
Tratan a personas y venden órganos. Esta es la realidad. Hoy, Interpol ha planteado un informe muy clarito.
So you need to pay attention to those proposals you're making, because these were only allowed criminals to have control in the country.
Javier Milei pidió derecho a réplica de los dichos de Patricia, pero seguimos en el orden. Entonces, Juan Schiaretti.
No veo que se haya hablado acá del combate al narcotráfico en un punto
I haven't heard anyone talking about the drug problem that we have in the country, which is not only a problem in major cities, but also in the rest of the provinces.
¿Qué es lo que ellos representan? La participación de centros vecinales, clubes de barrio, centros de jubilados,
We need to pay attention to the fact that citizens can also help us choose all these problems.
Para generar un entramado social que impida que los narcos se hagan dueños de la variedad popular. Lo estamos haciendo en Córdoba y quiero que
what we're doing right now and what we need to do is to pay attention to the help that we can receive from our citizens.
Ahora le toca el turno a Javier Milei, su derecho a réplica.
Señora Bullrich, no solo que vive aferrada a las mentiras que le arma su equipo de campaña.
I only like to talk about the topic that you were addressing.
Segundos atrás, que lo que nosotros proponemos es que se respete la ley de armas que existe.
And we were listening to the candidates address the first topic of this second presidential debate, which corresponds to security. We were saying before that this is a hot topic, as polls show that among the most pressing issues that worry Argentines and might have a decisive role in these elections. Now we go back to Tobias Belgrano, political analyst that is joining us to comment the debate. Tobias, what do you think that stood out in this first round of interventions?
Well, especially what stood out was Mrs. Bullrich's rhetoric. Comparing with the first debate, Patricia Bullrich had a poor participation in the first debate. So we are seeing her much more aggressive and much more attacking the other candidates, especially against Sergio Massa. We had a corruption scandal here in Argentina regarding a mayor, Martín Insaurralde, that was found in France in a billionaire yacht with a woman spending a lot of money, and it was a corruption scandal in the middle of the campaign. Milei, particularly, we can also talk about his role as an outsider and his current attacks against the political establishment that usually tends to use as a discursive rhetoric weapon against his opponents. And also, I would like to take into consideration the participation of Juan Schiaretti, that was really popular, and we didn't mention him at the beginning of the presentation of the candidates, that he is the governor of Córdoba province, and he got an interesting approach that hasn't been taken into consideration only by Miriam Bregman, the leftist and the Workers' Party candidate. Juan Schiaretti said that insecurity has a root in social inequality, and that hasn't been taken into consideration by the rest of the candidates. Miriam Bregman attacked Patricia Bullrich's speech of hard hand against insecurity, and also takes the speech of not using hard hand against insecurity, and that doesn't work. She has used her rhetoric to say that strong hands against delinquency doesn't work in Argentina. And Massa, once again, as we said in the beginning, it's quite more elusive, but also attacked Patricia Bullrich with the Millman case. Millman is a collaborator of Patricia Bullrich that is suspected to have some level of participation in Cristina Kirchner's murder's attempt. That's what the government is claiming against the Millman collaborator. That's what Massa was referring when he attacked her on that she didn't ask for his resignation after this scandal and his suspicion, rather than Massa asking for Insaurralde to renounce his candidacy and renounce his position as chief of staff of Buenos Aires province. But we find him defensive and elusive, but also defending his administration of security in the Tigre County of Buenos Aires province.
It is definitely, as you were saying, an important spin, an interesting spin on the matter of security. What you were saying, that Massa called out the case of Gerardo Millman, collaborator of Patricia Bullrich, as a different way of understanding the topic of security. The assassination attempt of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner had not been mentioned before in this scenario, so that was an important thing to keep in mind. And it makes sense also that this round of discussions was in turn of Patricia Bullrich, which was, of course, the security minister of Mauricio Macri, last government administration. So she was bound to have this key spot in this round of interventions. Now we are going to go live to the debate as we continue seeing the candidates address the following questions.
El rol de las mujeres, que hoy son discriminadas en el salario. Vamos a impulsar la obligatoriedad
We're
de
going
que
to
las
start the
empresas, por
obligation
la
that the
misma
companies,
tarea,
by the
paguen la
same
misma
homework, by the same
remuneración a hombres y
by the
mujeres.
same law
Quiero hablarle
of
además a
women
las
and
pymes,
men.
decirles que ya empezamos
I want
a
also to talk
eliminarle las cargas
about
sociales
that we are
hace
going
2
to
semanas
remove
por los
the
nuevos empleos
social
y por el
escalation
empleo
for
de
new
los jóvenes,
employments and for the
además
employment
de
of
por
young
incorporar
people,
a
besides to
beneficiarios de programas
incorporate
sociales.
the
Y en
social
paralelo decirles
programs.
que vamos a un
And
sistema de
also we're going
simplificación
to have the
tributaria.
system of
No quiero empresarios
tributary.
pymes en la Argentina que tengan que andar haciendo un curso porque pagan 150
And right now in Argentina they have to make the course because they only paid 150.
Por último,
And lastly, I'm going to be clear about the program of development, energy, energy, minery, and all the things that we are going to lower the intention right now. We are going to continue boosting because those are the Reserve Argentina. Thank you, Sergio Massa. The word for periods of law to replicate in the order that occurred. They were Miriam Bregman, Javier Milei, and Juan Soretti and Patricia Bullrich. Therefore, you have the word Miriam Bregman. Thank you. In these days, people are very desperate. They live with a lot of uncertainty, and the minister has already signed with the IMF to sign after elections more rise in the oil, less salary, less jubilation. A nurse went to the hospital in the morning and on weekends he'd have to make them results in order to make some meat. And we always meet with a jubilate that is telling that it's going to stay because it's not enough. I would like to ask the minister if he can live aware of the 4,000 pesos that he left, with the bonuses included. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bregman, you have the right, Javier Milei. In the first place, I would like to point out the problem of construction. We only talk about workers. If you follow the capital with the productivity is going to be very low. If you're going to, if you do it with you have to be careful of what you measure. But also, you have to take into account that you have to battle the capital. And there is 20% of workers that are formed, and then all are the line of poverty. And of course, there's not a reference towards production, because production is falling apart as a consequence of the mistakes. Thank you, Javier Milei. Do you have the word? Juan Schieletti. Sergio Massa is talking about production of employments, and he's the minister of inflation of the 55 to 40. The dollar that was is now in 900 pesos. He's talking about changes by the central bank. It is not the reserves. What must be done? What must be done is to help the people because they are suffering the competence, and they cannot export the products with the cost because the costs are superior. You have the word. You have the word, Patricia. I can't believe what you say. There is a hyperinflation. And you spend a lot of money in just one day. There are a lot of people suffering from poverty, from production, where it's costing. And when you have a lot of people that to make a line, and this is the Argentina that you live for production with what face. You were telling that you are going to solve the problem and you haven't done anything. This is only the destruction of the apparatus. And you, instead of solving the problem, you are You are messing it up. We have to change that. Thank you, Farisha. We have Sergio Massa and Javier Milei. You have the floor, Sergio. The truth is, there are some people that listen that they seem not to pay attention to what they're saying. They have made the Argentina is in the worst debt right now, and I've listened to others that forget that Argentina is with the worst rot in history. I have to make clear, I've solved the emergency with a lot of people. Did not. I wasn't on the verge. I was solving the situation with the same love. December 11 in the production and the work I'm going to put the economy with the regional economies. Everyone talks, but the only one that solved the situation was me. Thank you, Massa. Scoretti wants to talk about, and now we have Javier Milei. I'm surprised because Borrell have talked about the debt with importers. Argentina has, and that was a fund of corruption, and besides, the cover die to the importers. I am surprised. I am surprised what the voter says, not for the worst thing that Massa does, but the fact that its potential and its economy is joined for the Massa in order to take into account. I mean, she asked you for taking care of corruption. That's what you want to do for a change? Juan Schiaretti. In the interior, the payment in order to import, it has to have a lot of money within only on the functionaries of Massa. And besides, a truth that favors the national economy, we ask to declare the regional economy, and instead of doing that, he makes a removal of elimination. Massa left the field. You have to left the field. Let it produce a quantity of dollars that it can come to Argentina instead of leaving aside. Thank you. And now we have Sergio Massa. The truth is, we should sustain with votes in the Congress what is being held here, because a lot of the income that was created between 2015 and 2019 for the part of the head of the payments and producers were voted by deputies of Cordoba. I want to make it clear, firmly, the milk, the tobacco, and other regional economies that change, Salta, Jujuy, Cacamanca, were benefits in the last few months with the elimination of the retention that no one encouraged to do it. You come here and you talk about living in the side, and afterwards you come and you duplicate all the efforts. And now we have Juan Schiaretti. Go. Córdoba has the less rate income in Argentina because it is 2.51% of Córdoba within 2.93 in the rest of the country. What are you talking about incomes? What are you talking about? And why? I want to declare regional economy in the milk instead of eliminating the retention. You said that you put the food on the field if you eliminate the retentions in the field after assuming it, and you don't want to lower. I don't want to lower, and that makes that the region is going to be weak. A lot of dollars a year. There's a lot of dollars per year in this thing that you have done. And now we have Juan Schiaretti. You use 5 replicas. You don't have space to talk. And now we have Miriam Bregman. You have 2 minutes. I want to say the word that seems to be forbidden: workers. because they want us to believe that the problems in labor that we have, it is the workers that have a lot of rights, and that if we put it outside, we're going to be happy. They also talk about, when we talk about the model, when we talk about the you don't have to tell me the reality. I know all the reality. I know what is happening in the country right now. And what I see is that we're very divided in workers, under social program, under tributaries. That division is generated in order to exploit us every day. And the syndical leadership is one that guarantees this division. That's why we have to recover syndicats in order to have a tool for fighting, in order to prove that we are united, that we have the most majority, and we have the strength to turn back history. From the left, we are the only one who have the proposal to unite the worker and labor. We propose reduce the labor day to 6 hours, 5 days a day, and the hours that are free, they should be doing for the ones that they have no job. This way only applied by the big companies who can generate 1,002,000 jobs. That no one is going to have a salary that is lower for the basic needs, and without rising the rhythm of works. We have to make it clear. It is not passing over the other one. The people, the working labor should be the pillar of the society. We fought that is going to be the head of the new society. Thank you very much. And now we have 3 minutes for Javier Milei. The employment of the privates, they're stagnating since 2011. That implies that the income per capita in the Argentina 15 lower than the reference. Not only that, the amount of works in the formal sector is millions. The labor market is unbalanced. The only way to have a solution to this is with the economic growth. And with the economic growth implies rising capital, physical capital and human capital, and as well as technological progress. Now, the accumulation of capital is given when you invert. And now, no one is going to invert in money which they don't have. I mean, if you have some weight of the fiscal, it is impossible to earn some money. And if you earn money, it's impossible that you want to give that salary. Besides, you have to finance that, and that finance with savings, and that implies delay the time. However, what they only do is consuming capital with expensive. When one modify the incomes, the benefits lower, and there is less capital. There is an inflation that is also an income, but it also blurs the prices. And then you come to debt, and then you come the higher rates, and therefore the inventory is lost and the employment is for real. And we have to talk about social justice, redistributing the incomes. Therefore, this measure of tackling the model charge should be complemented with organization of the system, of the labor system, and reducing penalty. Therefore, we have to take into account there was a period for Miriam Bremen. When Milei talks, it makes it to hide his real organizations out, licenses out, acknowledge out. If you're retributive, third, not registered, you're out. But what Milei proposes, you're not better. You're not going to have the rights that you don't have to date, because the only liberty that Javier Milei defends is the liberty of that you exploit without limits. Thank you very much. Javier Milei, you have the right. If socialists were not about economy, they would not be socialists. It's your case, Miriam. If you can give me the 10 seconds that you stole. Yes, 20 seconds. You talk about reducing the labor day in order to have more time. This is wonderful. Because we have to take it an hour day. It's going to be job for everyone's. But if everything is going to be a fee, you're saying that the salary just be for the rise for the basic needs, but that's, you know what's the problem? What everything that you propose, instead of having more, we're going to have less. Thank you, Javier Milei. You really used all the possibilities you had. And now we have Sergio Massa, it's your turn. Javier? That's how far you come. Stop disrespecting the woman, because beyond thinking take it aside, they have the rights. I want to make clear what Milei is suggesting. Basically, it is a labor market where women, they have no possibilities of development. Where the youngest, they have to go to the market and with the salary. Where the workers, they lose the right to vacations, to pay vacations and indemnization. And above all, when we're going to go back for a dictatorship. That is what he's suggesting. Thank you, Sergio Massa. And you have had all your rights. And we ask the people that you don't make any time manifestation. And now we have the development of these subjects, the work and production, the Patricia Burrich. You have 2 minutes. Argentina has everything, but Argentinians, we don't have anything. It's been 20 years that the political mafia, they have all their houses. They had judged their houses. We know that a trial has been done. Unemployment is only given in formality. That's why we want to get the pymes to feel in production in all the country, with all the regional economies. Massa is lying when he said that we don't have the retentions. We defend the ones who work, not the one who blood the companies. That she closed her company for a blockade. You defend the syndicalists that are in the CTC, that every day they close their companies and then at the job. We are going to lower the incomes of the job, and we want to make a real law for the informal job, because if you have informal job, if you have social plans, there is a simple law that you can have unemployment. We are not going to do anything. You are inside. On the other hand, we have it very clear. Indemnization must be just for both the parts. They are not. And in trade with the world, it cannot be anything wrong. All the ones who are making stops, everyone who are making threats with us, Argentina is in stop is ended. We have Argentina with work, where families could have jobs, where they can live in happiness, where they can live in happiness, quiet, and they cannot be joined by poverty. Thank you, Patricia Burrich.
We were listening to the candidates address the second topic of this debate, which is labor and production. And in the same way in which we were saying before that Patricia Burrich was bound to be under the spotlight in the first round of interventions about security, the same could be said about Sergio Massa, current Minister of Economy, in this topic of labor and production. while candidates like far-right Javier Milei, Patricia Bullrich pointed out the economic crisis the country is undergoing, Sergio Massa took his chance to point out the current situation is largely caused by the gigantic debt with the IMF contracted by the former administration of Mauricio Macri. We go back to Tobias Belgrano. How did you see the candidates on this topic?
Well, it was interesting. There were some individual battles that were really interesting to see. Sergio Massa defended his policy regarding the reduction of the income tax to 300,000 workers. This reduction, especially for our viewers that do not know about this policy, this was a strong reduction of a lot of workers in the formal sector. Bregman attacked Massa with the classic workers' speech of the leftist Workers' Party in Argentina, with the question if a public official can live with the salary of with the basic salary of a retired or a basic worker. Milei, in this part of the debate, did a strong defense of capital and how the candidates are not talking about the capital and the owners of capital in this part of the debate. And Bullrich attacked the results of in the economy of Sergio Massa rather than bringing proposals. That's what I thought in the first part of this of the axis. Massa, to defend himself against this the attacks of Schiaretti. It was interesting, that debate, because Schiaretti accused him of having strong taxes against agriculture, and Massa defend himself, saying that many of that agriculture is suffering today were voted by his deputies in the National Congress, and he compared and did a parallelism with his personal efforts to reduce tax in agriculture against Schiaretti's votes forward pro increasing taxes. Schiaretti and Javier Milei are going to lose some of the protagonism they have been having in the debate due to the use of their intervention. And also Milei, in the last part of the debate, when they started to talk about workers' rights, brought once again the need of a labor reform against the unions due to the lack of creation of formal jobs since 2011. He also defended the need to reduce consumption to generate capital and expand the creation of new jobs. With this, brought a debate regarding if Argentina needs a labor reform to reduce workers' rights, with the idea of having more formal workers. This is a long-standing debate in Argentina. And finally, Massa, it was very interesting to see him defend Miriam Bregman. He was quite smart in that intervention. He defended Miriam Bregman, accusing Javier Milei of sexism and as an authoritarian. And also he related the lack of workers' rights with the lack of women workers' rights that, according to Unión por la Patria and a more center-left speech, are the most vulnerable workers in the labor system in Argentina.
It's interesting to pay attention to, as you were saying, how Milei, when he's talking to some of the candidates such as Massa or Bullrich, not Bullrich so much, but he tends to have a milder tone. But definitely with Miriam Bregman in this last exchange, he doubled down very harshly, showing some of that charisma that brought him to television shows on the first time. And we were talking about the labor reform. This was one of the most important topics in this last round of speeches. And Patricia Bullrich from Together for Change also talked about the importance of doing some kind of labor reform. She also talked about the informal workers. And actually, the need for a labor reform was one of the key elements from the last Mauricio Macri's administration, which he couldn't actually put into practice as it faced a very important popular resistance also on the streets. So, Tobias, how do you see this topic going ahead on a future presidency, be it from whoever of these candidates? Do you think Argentina is bound to face a new attempt at a labor reform of some sort?
Well, that will really depend on who wins the election. Probably we're going to see a stronger approach and enforcement of a potential government of Javier Milei if he's finally elected president to impose a reform. We'll have to see because as we said, Together for Change is a coalition, so the radicals that are part of this coalition might not support a labor reform against formal workers, rather than the libertarians might support in a stronger measure. So we would have really to see who finally tends to win the election. But I believe that Javier Milei has a stronger opportunity to at least try to pass the reform, because we also didn't saw any projects from Together for Change to strongly change the labor system in Argentina through legislation in Congress. So I would say that Javier Milei has a strong interest in this happening than Together for Change. That it's a coalition, so they have to debate this kind of reforms, and I don't see the radical part of the coalition supporting this kind of reforms.
That makes sense. And also, I was thinking, we were talking about how Sergio Massa, as Minister of Economy, has, of course, a key point to, like, a key part of this discussion when we're talking about labor and production. And even if many of the candidates have used this spot against him, of course, signaling to the economic crisis that the country is facing, in the last debate and in this one again, Massa is clearly trying to use this position in his favor, calling to all the measures that he has been implementing on the last month. Let's tell our viewers that in the last weeks, Sergio Massa, current Minister of Economy in Argentina, besides being the ruling presidential candidate, he has sent to Congress and has approved different measures targeting different sectors of society. One of the ones that has transcended the most was the income tax reform, favoring many workers whose salary were affected by this tax. How do you see his perform in this topic and the interventions that were made on this regarding Sergio Massa in particular, and the possibilities for him to sustain this position in this complex economic crisis?
Well, as I was saying before, it was very interesting seeing Sergio Massa pass through from a more defensive position to a more offensive position. Not only defending his position of the income tax, and also, as I said before, defending Miriam Bregman from Javier Milei, sexism. It was really interesting to see that Sergio Massa in the previous debate was quite elusive and quite quiet in the attacks he received, and he also spent all his interventions during the debate very quickly, so he lost a lot of protagonism in the first debate. So everyone thought that in the first debate Massa wasn't hitting so hard. So now we're seeing him getting more aggressive and getting more defensive. And it was not only interesting to see him defending Miriam Bregman, but also how he attacked Juan Schiaretti for his attacks against his tax reduction in agriculture, and how he brought that and spin it as a boomerang against him when he said that his legislators voted for increasing taxes in the national level against the agriculture and against regional economies that he claims to defend. So we are seeing a more offensive Massa without losing his temper, looking presidential, looking not losing his temper, but attacking back and leaving like slight messages against his opponents that might finally stay in the viewer's mind after the debate.
Massa is definitely playing the role of being the one who is capable of sustaining that tension spot. That is what he intended to do when he first assumed the economic minister, and now he is going through this presidential candidacy in a very tight economic spot. Also, the spotlight was put on strikes and labor rights as well. Patricia Bullrich came back to this topic once again. This is one of the things that she has been bringing up in her political speeches. That is this thing of denying political rights, denying strikes. She targeted specifically many labor activists. How did you see her intervention?
Well, Patricia Bullrich has a long-standing debate against protests and against the use of repression against protests, especially because traffic in Buenos Aires City is sometimes interrupted by strikes and worker strikes, and this is part of her speech also in her political spots and propaganda before the primaries. Her main spot was in bringing order and passing labor reform, even by force if necessary. So reducing the strikes in the streets by using repression, and bringing this labor reform by force if necessary. That's the speech of Patricia Bullrich that was really weakened by the primaries because many people who were angry with Peronism didn't want to vote for Patricia Bullrich because workers and not only formal workers but informal workers don't want to be promised that they will be repressed and attacked by police forces if they vote for a person. That's why many of the votes in the popular sectors of Argentinian society went to Javier Milei rather than Patricia Bullrich. So this is kind of the situation of Patricia Bullrich. That's why she had some difficult weeks before this debate. Now I'm seeing her much more secure of herself and attacking more and with a stronger speech and a stronger rhetoric rather than their first debates and the previous weeks before the debate, that she showed a really weak speech and weak capacity to transmit to communicate her ideas and communicate her will to pass reform. That's why Javier Milei called her, she's my second brand. I mean, I'm the first brand, she's the copy, the replication of my ideas. That's why also even former President Mauricio Macri, it's kind of like slightly moving away from Patricia Bullrich and getting closer to Javier Milei, but not explicitly. So that's why we are seeing Patricia Bullrich like navigating a very tense situation where she had to show strength, because if not, she's going to run third, and probably this would be a strong problem for Together for Change coalition that has the risk to break if this finally happens.
And as we continue on this special edition of Latin America Votes, following closely the second presidential debate in Argentina, it would be important to recall to our viewers that just days away, there was the numbers of poverty released in society that was over 40%. So, of course, many of these candidates were referencing the tight economic situation and also the need for people to have an important decision there to being able to go back to an economic measure that will ease the way into a better economic problem. Now let's listen to Sergio Massa, who is speaking at this third round of speeches.
Ahí vamos a poner en marcha un programa de lotes con servicios. 2 millones de lotes con servicios. Con agua, cloacas, con pavimento y con alumbrado.
We are
con
going
inversión
to
pública para que vos puedas
address the
acceder al
problem
lote
or
para
for
poder
water
construir tu casa.
and
Pero en
electricity.
paralelo tenemos la
All of this
responsabilidad de
financed by
cuidar
the
la casa
government.
común, la casa de todos. Y en ese sentido
We need to
hay
take
3
care
cosas claras.
of
Vengo
a common
planteando
house.
desde el
A common house
2014
will
la
be
reforma del Código
Argentina.
Penal. Quien contamina un río,
We
tala un bosque
also need to address
o
the topic
destruye un
of
humedal,
penal code.
tiene que ir a prisión, de 3 a
Those
8 años
who
de prisión. En segundo
damage
lugar,
the environment have
energías
to go to
renovables.
prison from
Argentina
1
tiene
to 3
la enorme
years.
oportunidad por sus corrientes marinas, por su energía solar,
We
pero
need to
también
take
por la
advantage
energía
of the natural
eólica y
resources
por
of the
el gas,
country.
de ser uno de los grandes jugadores mundiales del hidrógeno. Y en
We are
tercer lugar,
also
y no menos
having a
importante,
great
también hay un tema que tiene que
quantity
ver
of
con el
hydrogen
cuidado del
that we
ambiente.
need to take
Y
advantage
es que
of.
vos seas protagonista del desarrollo de
We
un
want
programa
all the
ambiental
people in
que nos
Argentina to
permita
be
cuidar a
protagonists
todos.
of these
Casa
changes
común
from this
y casa
development.
propia, el desafío del próximo 4 años.
This is the challenge that we will face in the next 4 years.
Sí, más allá de lo que se está discutiendo en el Congreso, Massa dijo hace
Beyond
poco que no
of
tendría
what is
que
being
haber una
discussed in
ley
Congress.
nacional de alquileres. Eso es muy peligroso porque deja sin
Massa
una
said
garantía
that
mínima a aquellos que tienen que alquilar. Quienes hemos alquilado por muchos años
they have a
sabemos la
proposal
terrible
for
incertidumbre que significa
rent
no tener
for their
un techo
citizens.
para vivir. Acá
That
lo
would be a
veo hacer
mistake because
muchas
that would
propuestas
worsen the
bonitas,
situation of
pero
those
hay
who don't
medidas
have a house right
urgentes
now.
que se tienen que tomar. Impuestos progresivos inmediatos a la vivienda ociosa, créditos hipotecarios accesibles
We
ya,
need
y un plan nacional de
accessible
vivienda para
housing for our
solucionar la
citizens.
emergencia habitacional. Que la plata no vaya para el FMI, vaya para
We
vivienda
need
y dejen de desalojar
the
a
money,
todos los
not
que
to go
reclaman
to
vivienda
the
en la Amazonía,
FMI.
como
We need
hicieron
that
en
money to
Venezuela.
go for the people in our country.
Massa, te lo voy a recordar de nuevo. Hay 2 millones de pobres más en el tiempo que va
There are
tu año
2
de
million
gobierno,
people
tu año de ministro de Economía. ¿De qué hablas?
living in
Hoy no compra una
poverty
casa
since
nadie en
you
Argentina.
are
Nadie
Minister of
puede
Economy.
alquilar. No le alcanza la plata para nada. Y
These
vos
people
hablás
don't
de un
have
país que
money.
no
These
existe.
people are
Los
not
únicos que
able to
compran
provide for their
casas en este
families.
país son los kirchneristas, tus amigos, que se compran las casas en todos los countries de la Argentina.
We all know
Los
that
ladrones de siempre, que
those
hace
people
20
are not
años nos
able
vienen
to buy a
robando.
house. We all know
Por eso
who
te
are the
digo,
ones who
los argentinos
can
han
afford to
empeorado
buy
la
a
vida.
place.
Y ustedes han generado este empeoramiento de la vida de los argentinos.
And this problem that we're
Y es
facing right now,
muy
you
evidente.
generated this
¿No es cierto?
problem.
Nosotros vamos a trabajar
And
para que
we
el que
are
roba
going to
tenga una
work in
condena,
order to
para
solve
que
that
nunca
problem
más
that you
en
created.
Argentina el desarrollo humano dependa de los
This is the
corruptos.
only way that we
Patricia
can
Bullrich, no hay
overcome this
más
situation.
réplicas pedidas. Procedemos a los 2 minutos de exposición.
We are going to hear the
El sistema
words.
capitalista está destruyendo el planeta. Sequías, incendios, ola de calor.
Right now, we are
contaminación y más
facing a
contaminación.
complicated climate
Y aún así,
situation.
todos los candidatos proponen profundizar el camino del extractivismo y el saqueo de los
And
bienes
even though
comunes
we are facing this
En eso
situation right now,
están todos
all
de
candidates
acuerdo.
are proposing
Quieren que
to
seamos una mera
overexploit the
plataforma
natural
exportadora de
resources
materias
that
primas.
our country
Y
has.
prometen un modelo de desarrollo, pero ese cuentito ya lo vimos.
They
Dejan
are
a las
promising
multinacionales
to
hacer lo que
change
quieran, incluso
our
llevarse los dólares.
our
Otra
economy
vez,
and the
las
economic
penas
model. But
son de
we saw these
nosotros y
promises
las
before. We
vaquitas
know
son
that these
ajenas.
promises lead nowhere.
Jujuy lo dejaron claro. Están dispuestos a todo con tal de que avancen las empresas y saquen
They
el
are
litio.
willing to do
Ese es el
anything
secreto
as long
económico
as
que hay detrás del llamado
companies
a la
can
unidad
grow
nacional de
and
Sergio Massa
be
al
able to
gobernador
produce more and
Gerardo
more
Morales
money.
y otros gobernadores. Otro ejemplo grave. Este gobierno nacional acaba de autorizar la
Another thing
explotación
is
petrolera
that
en las costas atlánticas, a pesar de que ciudades
this
enteras
government
como
has
Mar del
allowed
Plata
is
se
the
movilizan porque
overexploitation
están
of
en contra.
petrol
Necesitamos avanzar en
in
un programa de transición energética que
areas
respete
that
a
are
las
near to the
comunidades, a las
coast.
poblaciones, los derechos de los propios trabajadores
And
y que
one
se
thing that
inicie
they're
por la
not taking into
estatización
account
de
is the
toda la
right that
industria del
the
sector.
people who live
La
in that
juventud
area
que se
are
moviliza
being
en el
violated.
mundo nos muestra el camino
The
de
rights
la lucha
are being violated, and we need to fight against this overexploitation of areas where people live in.
Todos se pusieron de acuerdo y la cajonearon en el Congreso. Tenemos que volver a recuperar la calle para conquistar una ley de humedales. Por un mar sin petroleras. No
to create new laws for our citizens to live in peace, not being concerned about their environment, and how we're going to address this topic without changing people's lives for worse. From my point of view, I think there are three main elements for human development. We need to pay attention to these points, which are very much linked to the liberty right that every people has.
No solo que está 11 veces mejor que su par reprimido, sino que está mejor que el 90% de la población del país reprimido.
We need to pay attention to the needs of the people who are repressed.
20% más. Por otra parte, en lo que tiene que ver con la educación
taking into account
desde la lógica del capital humano.
Education.
Para llegar al capital humano de segunda generación, como es este caso, requiere un trabajo previo.
We need to work on this topic, and in order to do this, we need to analyze the situation, and therefore we propose to give personalized assistance to those who need it, and regarding healthcare.
En una acción coordinada con provincias y municipios para lograr censar a todos los argentinos y que todos tengan acceso a la salud.
We need to have full knowledge of the amount of people who are living in each province in order to make sure that every people is receiving the health care they need.
Para que haya competencia entre instituciones y obviamente libre elección de contenidos para que cada uno pueda formar su carrera. Por lo tanto, abrazando la idea de la libertad y defendiendo el capital humano,
and in order to defend the liberty of each people, we need to hear their concerns.
Yo no entendí nada. Para mí lo sacó de Yahoo Respuestas.
I did not understand a word of what you said. I think that discourse you just made was taken out of the internet. And this kind of discourse only shows the irrationality that your ideas are portraying.
Llegó a decir que el cambio climático es un invento del socialismo.
Bueno,
que cacaree, que diga lo que quiera.
And we were listening to the candidates address the third topic of this debate, human development, housing, and environmental protection. Tobias Belgrano, political analyst, has been joining us to analyze this debate. Anything to underscore in these first interventions?
Well, Massa, once again, showing his presidential position, propose a credit line for updated by salaries rather than inflation, and without pay by the US dollar. These updates made by salary growth. In Argentina, the current salary makes it almost impossible to access housing, as housing is mainly priced in US dollars. He also attacked contamination in rivers and in forests, and quoted the Pope as his main inspiration to protect the common house, as he said. In this position, he was attacked by Miriam Bregman, especially against the rental law that has been passed in Argentina, that has made it almost impossible. This law was passed, just for our viewers to understand, this law was passed 3 years ago, but with the support of the current government, Unión por la Patria and Frente de Todos, the Peronist government, and Together by Change, the opposition. This was a bipartisan coalition project. this law was contraproducing and brought really difficulties to rent properties for Argentinians, and has made the renting market quite more complicated than what it was. Massa said weeks ago that he didn't believe there was the need for a national law for this, rather than local laws which view the reality of the market of each local region and local province rental market. Once again, the debate will have Massa's presidential bringing proposal, and he's attacked by he being attacked by Miriam Bregman and Javier Milei and Patricia Bullrich. There are little proposals in this debate. I've seen only Massa being more proactive in this sense, rather than the rest of the candidates that tend to attack him and attack each other. So my intuition is that Massa will keep this post of presidential, and he will be attacked by the rest of the candidates. Javier Milei will keep imposing his speech against the political establishment in Argentina, and Schiaretti will keep his idea of representing the provinces of the rest of the country. And once again, as we said, Patricia Bullrich and Miriam Bregman will keep attacking Sergio Massa in his presidential posture that he has been exercising during all the debate.
Well, thank you, Tobias Belgrano, for joining us in this special edition of L8 Votes. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. And now we will continue watching Argentina's presidential debate. Let's listen.
At a housing, it is only that we have the housing. There's needs. There's an alert with everyone, and that is why. And there's to be stability in the economy with the salaries, and that is not happening right now. And the states, and the national and the provincial national states should be the housing for the sectors that need it, as they also should immunize all the sectors that are happening, because people cannot. And we should continue fulfilling the agreements for the country and the Agenda 2030, and we should stop. And we should stop what the government of Massa did, that they lowered the income of the government, prejudicing the quota to command, and all the provinces that are producers of oil, regretting rising the amount of charge. We have to take into account the oil and keep it in the percent that must be made. There are a lot of resources in Argentina that are being the benefits as well, and we have to take into account this. I want to make those recalls available for all the people. Thank you, Juan Schiaretti. Each of the candidates has a 2 minutes to talk about the human development, housing, and protection. Let's remember that for now, there is no possibility of replay between the candidates. And now we are going to talk about the last session of this debate, that are the cross questions. It is a space that offers the possibility of cross between the candidates. Each of you will have to make a specific question to the ones who are in the scenario. 4 rounds where each of you are going to ask a question and answer them. And you are also going to have 15 seconds to ask your questions and 45 seconds to answer. Please adjust to the timing that you asked. Let's start by the first question is Patricia Bullrich. That Javier Milei should answer. With what money did you make the campaign? Do you believe that you're going to earn that with all the money that you have in your list, Milei? Milei?
Bullrich. Burrich, you
have a lot of people in your list that come from another side, and the country has a lot of flexibility. And as long as you can watch your past with a nation, we only yell and we only say things. We cannot change. We cannot have another people. And I'm telling you, in the case, look. The informal job is more important than the formal, and all the ones that want to add to solve the problem with the Argentina, welcome. Not as your space that you keep blocking because when the leader of your space is going to be rational, you are going to be out. Thank you, Javier Milei. Now you have the turn. Juan Schiaretti, you ask a question, and Patricia Burrich answer it. Patricia, we in Córdoba said that in 2 years of gasolos. And the government that you participated failed. What is your plan so that in order to have these products? Córdoba received the most quantity of products in the president of Mauricio Macri. There's not a thing about the electoral. You know perfectly that it was one of the provinces that had more this product. That from San Francisco lied because the one from San Francisco started and it advanced to 30% with the government of Mauricio Macri. Everything that we did in the Mauricio Macri government and this campaign, I believe that you should, as Cordobés, and you don't seem to be a candidate president that seems to acknowledge the president of Mauricio Macri. Miriam, you voted with us in the last year and only 2 with Liberty Advances. And last Sunday, you didn't come. For real. For you, Milei and us are the same thing? Sergio, I believe that you are responsible because everyone represents Milei as the leader on the list. And yes. You call it for national unity. The other day you called for national unity, and you didn't mention me. And you made Milei. You know, with the ones you are going to be able to pay the IMF. If you want to face the right, you have to left to right side because they governed and they failed, and now they have the list. Javier Milei as recognizable. No to the program of the IMF. Sergio, don't be in a rush. And now it's the turn. Javier Milei asks and Sergio Massa answers. Massa, I value your tweets regarding what happened in Israel. Can you explain? Can you explain me? How are you going to make your international policy if in your space you have people that support your policy? The first thing that I want to tell you is since 2014, in that moment, I wasn't looking for the international politics, and I have been suggesting the law of adjustment in absentee, that the terrorists that were in Argentina could be judged in Argentina, and I've been blocked systematically by the party of the Bullrich. But I want to make this clear. I'm not only condemned the terrorist attack. December 10, I'm going to be president, and I'm going to exclude Bahamas in the list of terrorist organization in Argentina. Miriam Bregman asks, and as Juan Schiaretti answers, you were in Milei with Macri, and now you're going with Milei. Is that the future that you promised to the Córdoba people and to the whole country? It was a functionary that made the first treaty alone. I was also the functionary that made it possible until the automotors that were coming, and also I gave possibility of within the Macri and other ones who accuse me of Macristas. What we are not going to do never is to repeat, and we are not going to vote for Milei that prejudices everything that's happening right now. Thank you. The second round of the cross questions. Javier, you voted against the government of diabetes with genitas. A lot of people in Argentina have this disease. How do you explain the mom that the state will not be able to attend his son? Massa, it seems that your addiction to stability is giving you run. Public health, and those kind of problems, they have to be worked for the public health. This means that if you want to make a law in order to be done, it means that the system is wrong. If we're going to have health and it work, it's not going to be solvent and not made a disaster as when you did in the pandemic situation. And we wouldn't have had a lot of all the debts that we had. Sergio, why don't you comply with the law and you paid all that you did, and pay the 20% for non-fulfilling delay? The people did not understand, and we are talking about the jubilation, and we're talking about the reclaims of the provinces as it updated. I wanted to tell you because the governor, as is ending his mandate, does not know. But we decided to widen the budgets in order to establish a mechanism of updating automatically, so that the box of jubilation of Cordoba and the jubilation of the country, it has mechanisms and the automatic updating, and it has the funds to guarantee that the eligibles, they have the money that the nation puts every month.
We were listening to the cross-questioning, a moment in this debate in which all candidates have 15 seconds to ask a question to every other candidate. And now, to continue commenting on the most relevant aspects of this presidential debate in Argentina, we welcome our next guest, political scientist Elias Bertolotto. Elias, how are you? It's a pleasure to have you here in LA Votes.
Hi, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure, me too, to be here and be able to talk about the debate.
Exactly. It's a pleasure for us to have you here as well. And Elias, what have been the most important highlights up to this point, according to your point of view?
Yes. Well, for me, the debate is going in a kind of predictable way, because we are seeing how each of the candidates are expressing their ideologies in a way that is kind of conflictive. We'll see most of the candidates are kind of attacking Milei for his view in the housing and the economy and the environment. These are principal points. Not many of them are saying their own plans about what to do. Bregman and Massa and others, they say like the rental law and things which like the wetlands law. This last one is about the protection and reservation of international important wetlands in Argentina. This law that Miriam Bregman, the candidate for Left Front, say is an important advance in the legislature about the protection of the environment in Argentina. 20% of the territory, the national territory, are wetlands. This is one of the most important things, say, in the debate. But there are many things said. Milei talked about his 3 points: longevity, education, and income, but don't really talk about the real problems. And the other candidates, they we are more about attacking the propositions than proponing something themselves.
That's interesting. And also one thing to keep in mind is that the broad of this category, which includes housing, human development, the last one before the cross-questionings, the category itself was sort of allowed the candidates for this vagueness you were pointing out. Now let's continue, if you want, listening to the debate, and then we continue the commentary. Interesting. And also one thing to keep in mind is that the broad of this category, which includes housing, human development,
todos los planes, con la ley y con la justicia.
Gracias, candidata. Estamos a mitad de camino en cuanto a preguntas cruzadas.
Thank you very
Tercera
much.
ronda
We're
entonces.
having this
Javier Milei es el
process
que
of
pregunta, responde Juan Schiaretti.
answering
Gobernador
questions.
Juan Schiaretti, tanto Juntos por el Cambio como
I would
Unión
like
por
to
la
ask,
Patria quieren mantener las retenciones.
Union for the Homeland
Nosotros
and
somos
Together for
los únicos
Change.
que proponemos eliminarla de cuajo. ¿Podría decir qué es lo que más le favorecería a su lugar?
He dicho siempre que hay que eliminar la retención a las exportaciones agropecuarias.
I have always
Somos
said
los
that we
únicos
need
que hemos
to
mantenido esa
eliminate
posición desde hace tiempo,
exportations
porque
from
es una
foreign
confiscación que le hacen
European
al
countries.
interior productivo desde aquí, desde la República
We
del
need
AMBA, que es el área
to produce
metropolitana Buenos
from
Aires,
our
que es
land.
de donde gobierna y donde miran la Argentina los gobiernos de la grieta. Hay que eliminarle y sacarle el pie de encima al campo. Mi provincia, dije hace unos instantes, se llevan
To
3.400
not
millones
overexplode
de
the
dólares
fields,
por año.
we
En
need
Santa
to
Fe se
produce
llevan
for
lo
ourselves
mismo.
from
En
other
todas las
sources.
provincias productivas se llevan recursos al Tesoro Nacional que si quedaran en las provincias generarían más progreso y más
We
crecimiento.
are seeing now that these resources are not staying in the provinces where they should be.
El previaje cambió el sector turístico definitivamente en la Argentina.
The tourist
Y a lo
sector
largo de las últimas semanas los
has
economistas de
changed
Bullrich
in
dijeron
Argentina.
que lo iban a eliminar. 7,5 millones de argentinos lo usaron, 500.000 trabajan en el sector. ¿Lo van a eliminar sí o no?
Millions of Argentinians are working in tourism, and we need to know what we're going to do about this topic.
De que metés a los ñoquis de la cámpora adentro, los dejás en planta permanente, que inventás todos planes que lo único que hacen es aumentar el gasto.
What you have done so far is to create plans and programs that are damaging enterprises, companies, and organizations, and people's salaries.
Que llevan a los chicos de vacaciones a Bariloche. Vamos por 46 millones de argentinos a bajarle la inflación, a no tener más
46 million Argentinians are suffering the effects of the inflation. Meanwhile, politicians are taking their sons to very expensive places that no one else can allow.
La pregunta para Juan Schiaretti debe responder Miriam Bregman.
Miriam, he visto presidente latinoamericano,
Miriam, I have seen
o el Pepe Mujica, que son progresistas
Latin American
y no
presidents
jarabe de pico, como es el kirchnerismo, defender el equilibrio fiscal. ¿Está de acuerdo con eso?
that are defending
Y lo del equilibrio fiscal está bueno que me lo pregunte, porque son
the
esas
justice
frases
sector.
hechas
These are
que
good
inventaron los
questions.
liberales y que todos van copiando. El problema
Because
de
this is a
Argentina, ¿sabe
model
cuál
that
es?
lots
El
of
problema de
countries are
Argentina es que
copying.
durante el gobierno de Macri que usted apoyó y el de
Something to keep in mind is that Macri's government that you
Unión por la
supported,
Patria, lo que se produjo es una división donde los
what
ricos se
created
hicieron más
was
ricos y los que trabajan se hicieron más pobres.
created a division that
en promedio el valor de su
had as a
salario, el
result
valor de
that
un
the rich people are working less and getting richer, and regular people and working class are working more and are less, are more poor than they used to be.
Porque del PBI hay 5 puntos que cada año se llevan los grandes empresarios que usted defiende como las automotrices.
Also, it's important to keep in mind that the economic development or our economy is for higher companies.
Massa, el país entero se pregunta,
Massa,
¿cuándo van a
the
dejar
whole
de afanar?
country is
Bueno, en primer lugar,
wondering.
quiero decir, Patricia, que ser vulgar o hablar canchengue no te va a hacer más popular de cara a la elección. Y no alcanza
I would like to tell you, Patricia, first of all, that by screaming, being disrespectful, you're not going to gain any more attention than what you're having right now.
La ley del arrepentido que tiene la Argentina es de mi autoría. La suba de las penas en los delitos de corrupción
I would like
fue
to
parte de las
remind
leyes,
you
del paquete de
that
leyes que yo planteé entre el 2015 y el 19 siendo diputado.
and I would like to highlight that the laws that I proposed from
votes la ley
2015 to
que nos permite
2019
saber
actually worked.
quiénes son los familiares que fugaron plata a Estados Unidos.
Última pregunta de la tercera ronda. Miriam Bregman pregunta, responde Javier Milei.
Usted niega el cambio climático, niega el genocidio, niega los 30.000 detenidos desaparecidos, niega el patriarcado, niega también
Are
los
afraid
homicidios.
of climate change, of criminals,
Primero, no miento.
and other topics
Yo
of
no
the
niego
country.
el
What do
cambio
you think
climático.
about this?
Lo que yo digo es que existe en la historia de la Tierra
I'm not saying that I'm afraid. What I'm
un
saying
ciclo
that
de temperaturas.
throughout
Hay un comportamiento cíclico. Y este es el quinto
the Earth
punto del ciclo.
history,
Donde ¿sabe cuál es la diferencia con los 4 anteriores? Que antes no estaba el ser humano. Y ahora sí está el ser humano. Por lo tanto, todas esas políticas
I would like,
que
what I was
culpan al
saying
ser
is
humano del
that
cambio climático son
the
falsas.
Earth
Y lo único que
temperature
buscan esas
has
políticas es
changed
recaudar fondos,
not
¿sí?
very
para
much over the
financiar
last
vagos
years.
socialistas que escriben papers de cuarta para, digamos, ¿qué feminicidio? Digo, hay que
What I'm
aplicar la
saying
ley,
is
igualante
that
la ley,
we
pero
need
no violes
to
la ley
keep in
que
mind that
establecimos en el debate.
all of this that is
Gracias,
happening is
candidato.
because
Llegamos a la
of
cuarta ronda. Todos y
human
todas
beings.
van a preguntar por última vez, todos y todas van a responder por última vez. En este
Each
momento,
candidate
pregunta Patricia
can
Bullrich y
ask a
responde
question and
Miriam
the other
Bregman.
one can answer
Los países
only
socialistas
in
tienen
one
ejércitos
intervention.
fuertes, con la bota bien puesta. Ahora, acá en la Argentina,
You said
¿por
that
qué
it had to
odias
be
tanto a la
strong.
Fuerza de Seguridad y a las Fuerzas Armadas? ¿Por qué las odias tanto? ¿Por qué no lo
And I
reconoces
would
como
like to
trabajadores?
know, why do you hate so
¿En
much
serio,
the armed
Patricia, me vas a
forces
preguntar
and strikes in our country?
Bueno, le voy a contar a Patricia Bullrich que parece que se olvidó.
First of all, I'm going
que
to
cuando
say
ella
to
dirigía las fuerzas
Burridge
de
that
seguridad,
seems to be forgetting the
desapareció
fact.
Santiago Maldonado. Asesinaron por la espalda a Rafael Nahuel.
She seems
Defendió
to forget
a los policías de gatillo fácil como Chocobar, que lo
the
reivindicó hoy al
people
principio.
who died in
introduce el
hands
tema.
of
La verdad es que debería
policemen
explicar, además de
that
por qué hacer esto,
were
le
shooting
vendió
indiscriminately
armamento a
to
Bolivia
people who were
durante el golpe de
innocent.
Estado. ¿Por qué también reconocieron al gobierno de Brasil después del golpe contra Dilma? ¿Por qué apoyan el golpe
I
de
would
Estado
like to
en
know
Perú?
Gracias,
why
candidato.
do you
Sus 45
support
segundos han terminado.
other
Muchas gracias.
countries
El
instead
turno de la
of
pregunta de
paying
Sergio
attention to
Massa,
the problems
responde
in
Juan
your
Schiaretti.
country?
Querido Juan, hace pocos días nos enteramos que Argentina va a ser sede del Mundial 2030.
A few
Y
days
propuso
ago,
que
we
Córdoba sea
heard
una de
that
las subsedes.
Argentina is going to be
Si me vas a
a
acompañar en el
host for
comité que define
2030.
desde el día 27 a Córdoba como subsede.
And I would like to know, why do you propose the city of Córdoba to host this event?
¿Cómo estamos remodelando el Kempe para llevarlo a 72.000 ubicaciones para poder ser sede? En segundo lugar,
We are going to make some adjustments. We are going to improve the structure of this city in order to be able to host this
No
event.
mientas con el déficit de la caja de jubilaciones, porque lo que yo te estoy diciendo es que cumplas con la ley de este año, del 2023. No que nos hagas una
What
promesa
we
para el
need
año
is
2024,
you to comply with your promises for 2023, not paying attention to other matters that are not so important as this one.
porque Massa no cumple con la ley. Nosotros le iniciamos juicio, obviamente.
Gracias, candidato. En este caso,
Thank you
pregunta
very
Javier
much,
Milei y
candidate, for your
responde Patricia
intervention.
Bullrich.
Bullrich, hace 7 días le pregunté por las
Bullrich,
elites,
7 days
me
ago,
contestó 4 días después por el tipo de cambio paralelo. ¿Me puede
I asked
contestar
you,
ahora qué hacía Melconian con el señor Massa negociando la CIRA?
I asked you about your relationship with Massa and the negotiations in the economic sector.
Que va a gobernar el Ministerio de Economía en los próximos años. Y es una persona seria, no lee libritos como usted. Así que
I can say that the person who is in charge of the economy of this country is a serious person, is a very serious person. It's not a person who reads popular books as you do.
Total, 46 millones de argentinos se estrellan con el salario bajísimo.
I can We all know that 46 million of Argentinians are struggling to make ends of meet. And dollarization is not the answer for this problem.
El turno para preguntar a Miriam Bregman, en este caso debe responder Sergio Massa.
And we continue commenting this political event that is the presidential debate in Argentina, 2 weeks before the first round of elections. And now we go back to political scientist Elias Bertolotto. Corruption, public spending, and climate change were some of the mentioned topics in this cross-questioning round. Elias, you have specialized and published a book on climate change and public measures to counteract it. What is your opinion on Milei's recent statement on climate change just being one more natural cycle?
Well, first of all, Milei contradicts himself by saying that he didn't say that he denied the climate change, that it is only a process, a fifth stage of climate changing, which is natural and which is not, because even the United Nations, by the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Crisis, talk about the scientific proof and necessity to stop human activities that contaminate the environment. Milei talks that human activities doesn't have anything to do, and it is go along with his speech, with his discourse of talking about free management of environmental. He, and I quote, he said that a company can, and if able to, should contaminate the water of the rivers, because the water has not a private owner, so there's no profit, so nobody should protect it, and that's a problem. He didn't say it recently in the debate, but it's something that he said some days ago, and so Bregman cited in a way by saying that he not only talked about that, but the contamination of the rivers. And there's a problem with that kind of thinking, no? In a way of saying that if nobody protects the water, which is an essential resource for survival, for life, life will be lost, not only human or animal, but even the agricultural industry will be lost because there is no water. And if the only objective of the state, from his point of view, from Milei's point of view, is the profit, which he calls is the law of the free market, is a problem, because we will have two conclusions. The first one is if nobody protects, the water will contaminate and that will affect everyone. Or the second one, if no one protects it because there's no profit and somebody should own it to defend it, there will be a monopoly of a private company that will buy the land and will have all the resource of the waters. And that will be a problem because people won't have access to water, and that will be not only difficult to the communities, but even in the profit from his point of view to the long term, because if there's a monopoly of water, which is an essential resource, the economy will halt. And he's saying that it is natural, that this didn't happen, and there shouldn't be no regulation, is a problem. In the book, which I wrote a chapter, and my colleagues wrote on some other chapters, we talk about the importance of the state, the role of the state, and the policies need to be taken to take care and protect the common resources, which are not private from an individual or a company, but are common from the people, because they are the right of the people. And Bregman said a good point attacking Milei from that angle. This is something that even the United States, the scientific community, and many states, even in Latin America, in the book that we wrote, I researched about some cities, and there's an example of Bogota, the city of Colombia, in which the municipality controls the 66% of the actions of the energy company, which it aligns with the sustainable development objectives of the United Nations, because the United Nations says that the state must guide the private enterprise to protect the environment. And that is something that we need to talk about and say what it is.
It's interesting exactly what you were saying, Elias, about the climate change and the role of the state. You mentioned the UN and its objectives for development, and just weeks ago we were witnessing, we followed the UN's General Assembly, also the G77 summit, and climate change, and especially a demand from global South states for further collaboration for the states to be able to pay and put financing into actions to counteract climate change was one of the key topics. It appears to be one of the things in which governments, at least in the global South, are very united in stating, because of course it is affecting most of all southern countries. So in this sense, Milei's stance is really contradictory to what's happening worldwide. How have you seen Milei in this debate, besides this point in particular? Anything that to stand out?
Well, when he spoke, he not talk about the houses or the development. He criticized Burrich about economics, and that topic was already over. So he has only a focus, which is economics, and he put all his time and effort talking about that, even though that topic is already over. That proves that he doesn't know too much about the other things like we are talking today, and this can be seen clearly by the way that he doesn't bring so many new ideas, let's say, how he did in the previous debate, in which he talked about a lot of the economic topics and kind of security topics. This time around, he is kind of losing his grip in his charisma way of talking.
Exactly, and one might think that Milei's way of addressing this political debate is using a strategy of repeating his same the same political stances that have brought him to TV shows, to social media. And as you were saying, it seems that he will not move from those things, even though he tries at some point to come back from some of these statements, as he did with the climate change stance, which now he says he hadn't denied in the past, although he had. Also, I think it would be interesting to think that in this debate we see a lot of confrontation from different candidates that could be fighting for similar votes, right? We see a lot of Milei and Bullrich going back and forth, some interaction from Miriam Bregman from the left front, also fighting Sergio Massa from the center-left ruling coalition. We can see definitely that the candidates understand this is the last moment for them to show society, to convince the vote ahead of the first presidential election. How have you been seeing this back and forth?
Well, this back and forth, as you say, it shows which are the topics that each one of them is specialized. Bregman knows more about this kind of topics. She talks about the housing, about the rights of the people, about the problem with the security when she confronts Burrich. Here we have two opposite views, in which one talks in defense of the security and armed forces, and the other talk about the problems that may bring with the excessive use force from this branch of government. With the case of Massa, we have seen that he, in one moment, talked about kind of a union of support to Schiaretti, in which he said that he supported Cordoba as a center of global importance, but we can see later on that Schiaretti denied those claims, denied that he helped that way, and was something that Schiaretti himself had already done in the past, and criticized the intent of Massa of uniting. We see these types of confrontations, which are very obviously the Milei case that we already talked, in which the other candidates always attack him because this is the topic in which he is the most weak and the most vulnerable to attacks in the argumentative way, because he doesn't explain, let's say, very well his points, and only focus in the economic terms of profit.
Excellent, Elias. This really adds on our commentary that we have been doing here in LA Votes, following this debate for the presidential candidates in Argentina. And we hear now from our other host, Luis Alberto Matos, who is here following the political debate as well.
Been following what the candidates have been saying, and of course what you and our special guests have been analyzing of the speeches that the different candidates have delivered. It has been interesting hearing all of them again face to face after 7 days from the first vote. I believe that all of them came following a specific strategy coming from that first debate, and especially the main three candidates that are on the focus of the media. We are talking about Milei, Massa, and Bullrich. Bullrich, knowing that she's trailing behind in the votes preference, she came clear that she had to attack, in a way, both Massa and Milei. And on Milei's side, he has been more, you could say, more soft, more calm towards Massa, but has really put the finger on Bullrich in different occasions by different questions and interventions that he has, criticizing more actively Bullrich's proposals than Massa's. And Massa has also been speaking from his position as economy minister, because I believe that in this debate he has been making the most proposals. The other candidates mostly were criticizing what is going on right now in Argentina, the conditions that they claim that they, or the persons or the systems that they put blame on, but with that lack of what would they do different. However, Massa, I believe, has put more proposals on the table. And not only that, because he also taken advantage of the policies. So it's not only bringing promises of what he could do, but also what he has been doing. There was a moment where he expressed, when he was being attacked by Bullrich and Milei, that he expressed that he came to the office of the Minister of Economy in a moment when no one in Argentina was willing to take that jump. Everyone was pretty much cars around, and he did not hide, as he say, under his bed. He took a step forward and faced the economic crisis, especially deriving from the debt from the IMF that was acquired during the previous government of Mauricio Macri. In different moments, I believe also all the candidates have followed their line. Bullrich has been very adamant about order, but with an iron fist. In many occasions, especially referring to labor, she spoke about how strikes and all these kind of mobilizations of workers had to come to an end. And her position has always been clear, and she has said in different occasions. So everyone expects, if she would be elected, a government that would repress these strikes and these protests of the workers when they ask for their rights. On the other hand, also we have seen the weakness, I believe, of the different candidates, especially more noticeably speaking about Milei. When it came to talking about human development, the protection of the environment, and all these topics, and labor, he could only refer to the economy side. So this is what I believe we have been taking from this debate.
Excellent, Luis. And now we go back to Argentina because the candidates are ready to do their final and closing statements.
Que no se aplicaron en ningún lado del mundo.
You applied in the world, and that they mean travel through the unknown, and that showed the experience of gesture in the world. I believe that besides showing my management in my province and that made progress, I defended the interior, and I'm the only candidate in the interior of the homeland. I defended the interior within the centralism, and I asked you to accompany with the votes to make a normal country.
Ahora cierra Sergio Massa.
Now we have probably this minute is going to be one of the most important of my life. I would like to tell you that what is the way towards Argentina, the way that Argentina should vote for the next 4 years, coming back, or is a future and betting for the model of production. Either a mom and you want to protect yourself from the ones who are benefit the sale of weapons, and you believe in investigators in the public education. I would like to about pymes who are workers and tell it that we are going to fight with the economic growth. Argentina is getting out of the crisis, maybe the worst crisis in the last 20 years, the worst has happened. Unfortunately, you have a very important minute because probably you're going to decide for the next 40 years. I asked you to go. I asked you to go and look for the Argentinian flag. And we finished this second debate, 2023. It was an honor to participate. Thank you very much.
Un privilegio participar de este debate presidencial que es muy importante para la democracia argentina.
En caso de que haya balotaje en las
And this is how the political debate in Argentina ahead of the first presidential elections of October 22nd comes to a close, and we are here with Elias Bertolotto, political scientist, who's joining us. How did you see these closing statements, Elias?
Well, the last statements were most focusing in the unity, for example, as Massa said, the love for the country, in which we are looking for more union and less conflict, more similarities and less difference. It's the last time they were able to talk, so they chose the time to be able to give a message of comforting the people about the reasoning why they must be voted, that they will unite and not divide. And this can be seen, but at the same time, some other points before the closure were kind of conflictive, attacking one another. That was previsible because it shows at the same time that even though in the last moments they talk about unity, they must differentiate themselves from one another to prove themselves. The case of Milei as the first one to have a win in the first round, he felt that he had already won the race. This time we see him more vulnerable to the different attacks about this topic, while Burrich and Massa, in which we are saying that are fighting for the first, second, and third place, they are more provoking and trying at the same time to search for the difference, to differentiate themselves and prove to the audience that they are the one that should be voted. The case of Schiaretti, we are seeing as he maintained his posture about being the negotiator, be the one who doesn't really go all the time attacking. He throws ideas. He says that the interior of the country, the countryside, must be respected in a federal way, not in a unitarian way, in which Buenos Aires and Bacaba, Ciudad Capital, capital city, has the more resources and should be redistributed to the rest of the province. In the case of Bregman, we see she felt comfortable with these topics, and she went for the attacks to each of the individual candidates to prove herself and to her voters that she is defending their ideology and their interest. It's very interesting to see this dynamic within the candidates. It's the last time we are going to see them debate between themselves. From now on, there comes the last election and the final decision of the people to choose who is going to be the next president of Argentina.
Excellent, Elias. We thank you for joining us here in LA Vote. It's been a pleasure to have you.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.
See you next time. And like this, we have come to a close in this special edition of LA Votes for teleSUR English. But before we close, I want to also come here and join our other host, Luis Alberto Matos. How did you see these final statements in this debate?
Well, I saw the statements following the same lines that they follow through the debates. Bullrich calling for an order, Massa calling for a government of unity, and Milei going on his own path of blaming the state for everything and wanting to change everything and reforming everything that needs to be reformed according to him. Let's remind our viewers, Belen, that now Argentina will decide its future on October 22nd. If neither candidates, if the winning candidate does not exceed 45% or 40% with a difference of 10 percentage points from the second place, we will have another debate on November 12th before heading to the runoff, so that the Argentinian people can decide who's going to be the next president and what are the policies that are going to be working on in the future, which will not only affect, I believe, Argentina, but also the region and the international arena.
That is exactly what we are expecting for, and this will all take place on October 22nd. So thank you for joining us, and we expect for you to be back in this countdown towards Argentina's presidential elections, which will take place, as Luis was saying, on October 22nd. For teleSUR English, I'm Belén de los Santos, and we'll see you next time.